You are probably all familiar with the trope of the bad boy, or the character who's from the wrong side of the tracks. Usually these tropes involve a troubled person, maybe with a criminal history, who then meets a more innocent romantic interest, or simply just from a different world. The media that I grew up with in the 90s and the early 2000s relied very heavily on this kind of trope.
I'm free. All thanks to you.
All I did was help you get a lawyer.
Whatever. I'm out. Now we can be together.
It's crazy that they're talking about leaving you back.
Whatever.
You could do anything you wanted. You could be anything you wanted.
Rory.
You don't want to hear that I got fucking cigarettes put out of me when I was a little kid. That this isn't fucking surgery, that the motherfucker stabbed me. You don't want to hear that shit, Skylar. Don't tell me you want to hear that shit.
I want to hear it because I want to help you.
What? What's wrong?
Good morning. I'm sorry about last night.
Dylan, you've been drinking.
Then go ahead and starve! If she doesn't eat with me, then she doesn't eat at all.
I stole a car. Crashed it. Actually, my brother did. Since he had a gun and drugs on him, he's in jail.
And you know, these tropes are tropes for a reason. They make for good storytelling, and they certainly were present in our entertainment long before my childhood. But what happens when the lights and cameras go off, and you find yourself in a relationship with a bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks in real life? Well, you might find yourself saying familiar lines from the script. I can fix him. He just needs love. Maybe I can help him. Well, he had a bad childhood. You might justify your choice to love this person by saying he'd be perfect if he didn't drink, do drugs, get into fights, go to jail. You might ignore red flags or make excuses because their upbringing was so turbulent and they don't know any better. After all, you had stability and opportunities. Without those, maybe you'd act the same way. Now, I should add some caveats before I get into this video. First of all, bad boys do not have to come from poorer backgrounds. Affluent people who have every opportunity to succeed can turn out to be very problematic people and can bring a great deal of abuse and toxicity into their relationships. Secondly, the bad boy, good girl trope does not solely have to apply to heterosexual relationship and that the man is the bad one and the girl is the victim. Toxic relationships can happen to anyone in any kind of relationship. But what follows is going to be my story, the full story, a story that not a lot of people know. It's a story of how I met and started a relationship with my fantastical idea of a bad boy, and how the reality of the situation was far more complex than I ever saw on TV. Chapter 1: The Odd Freshman Out. It was September 2006 when I started my first year of university. In the previous May of that year, I had just gotten back from an abroad program that I did for my senior year. Let's just say, while abroad, I experienced what most people experience in their first year of university times 100. By the time I got back to my high school friends, I was just kind of over it in terms of partying and drinking and pot and all that jazz. In fact, I think I developed a bit of a phobia of drinking and drugs and just like the feeling of being out of control. That's a whole other video though. So back to September 2006, I entered my first year of university. I was in a new province where I had no family, and the few people that I did know were friends when I was a party girl in that abroad program. My dad and I did the drive out together. He helped me unload from the car, got me settled. We ate dinner together. Then he left me the car and he flew home. I felt alone. I slept alone. I ate alone. I was alone. Sure, there were residency events, floor meetings, my dorm neighbors, campus-wide frosh week things. I did meet some people, but the relationships tended to fizzle out when they realized that I just didn't party the way that they did. I had completely quit all substances, drinking, pot. I didn't really do anything else but those two. Here I was, first year, when everyone was having these normal freshman experiences, and I was a sober 18-year-old. Chapter 2. The Hot and Mysterious Cafeteria Worker. My residence had a cafeteria, where if you lived in the dorms and you had a meal plan, that's where you ate. The cafeteria had lots of staff who were either cooks or line servers. They all had a certain amount of roughness to them, I could tell. The cafeteria definitely was like a representation of a very distinct class divide between the people who were making and serving food and the affluent students who were eating said food. One day I noticed a new staff, a younger guy. Oh Lord, he was hot. He looked like a young Eddie Vedder mixed with Patrick Swayze, mixed with Bradley Cooper, all wrapped into one. Yeah, I started making eyes with him. Let's call him Eddie, not his real name. I was definitely developing a crush, and the insanity that comes with having a crush was definitely hijacking my brain. Chapter 3. Get a job, get a man. So I was on my way out of the cafeteria one day when I was suddenly struck with the idea to ask about getting a job. I inquired with one of the card checkers, who then took me all the way to the back kitchen where the manager's office was. I filled out an application, and very suddenly I was on a weekend morning rotation working in my residence's cafeteria. Yes, you are thinking correctly. I wanted a job here so that I might finally get to actually interact with Eddie. Again, not his real name. And in my defense, the plan worked. I made first contact. He seemed a bit shy and awkward for such a good-looking person, but it didn't really matter. If anything, it just kind of made him more attractive. Back then, I was really into live music. Nowadays, I still like music. I just can't stand for 3 hours anymore. That happens when you get old. Anyways, I found a show that was happening in a little bar across town, and I decided to make this a way to try and see Eddie outside of work hours. Conversation went something like this. Hey, do you know where this venue is? Yes, like I said before, man of little words. He told me the best way to get there, and I told him about the show and asked if he would want to come. He said, sure. Chapter 4. Is this normal? So the night of the show, I was freaking out, trying to find best outfits and all that stuff that you usually do. I arrive on time and I'm one of the few people there, and I'm certainly the only one who's sitting alone. To any youngins watching this, I must remind you that 2006 was still an early time for the ubiquity of cell phones and constant communication and everyone having a cell phone and things like that. You kind of just made a plan, and on a hope and a prayer, the other person knew where to go, was going to show up, not going to stand you up, that sort of thing. So I wait and I wait. By the time Eddie arrived, the show was basically almost over. He was acting weird, swaying, a bit sweaty, drooping in the face, like he was wasted. But he ordered more drinks at the bar. I felt very uncomfortable with the situation, and I honestly just wanted to go back to my dorm. He said very inappropriate things to me as jokes. I didn't necessarily feel scared. I just was disappointed and more so disgusted with the behavior. The next day, I had a shift at the cafeteria and he was there. He was all back to normal and apologized. Bad night, he said. He met up with old friends, lost track of time, had too much to drink. Okay, understandable. It happens. It's normal, right? Chapter 5, Patterns and Blindness. At some point, Eddie and I start to date. Our relationship turns physical, we fall in love, but the red flags remain. The drinking, the disappearing, the inability to show up for any plans on time, and just saying weird things that give me this sort of shiver all the way down my spine. But of course, there are sweet moments, and I feel special. I got the hot guy that all the girls were drooling over, and he's not just some typical college guy from a normal family with a normal life. No, he's a mysterious bad boy who's been to jail. He's lived life. He knows things. He's had crazy life experiences, and I felt like I could learn deeper and more meaningful things from being with this person. Chapter 6, Throwing and Tears. There was a moment where my instincts and my resolve almost saved me from the doomed future of this relationship. And if you stop watching this video here, all I want you to take from it is listen to your instincts and don't back down. Eddie showed up drunk at my dorm yet again, unannounced, hoping to stay over. I told him, no, that's not how this is going to work, and to please go, get out. He got so angry that he grabbed my side table and threw it across the room. So after he did that, I yelled, "Get the fuck out, go. I never want to see you again." I was angry, but I was defending myself. He left and I watched him go down the hall, making sure that he was going to go out of the locked residence door so that he couldn't get back in. But then he turned around and I saw that he was crying. This is an important part of my story where I hope to capture your attention in case you might find yourself in this situation one day. I may well have made Eddie sad. The tears were probably very real, but that doesn't matter. I defended myself. I told someone who was messing with me to leave, and they turned the anger around into tears. That is manipulation. I was not strong enough to see it back then, and I took him back. Chapter 7, An Education. For 3 years, I watched my grades suffer while I dealt with this dumpster fire of a relationship. I introduced him to my family, and he met my friends, but I was isolated. I didn't tell my parents about when he would get drunk and call me a whore for daring to speak to another man. I constantly tried to normalize this relationship, and it was exhausting. Looking back on this time in my life, I often felt like it was such a waste. A waste of my potential at school, a waste of friends I lost when I ended up spending all my time with him, a waste of what could have been a very happy dating life with those normal guys that I turned my nose up at. Now I feel less regret and see it more as a very important education, not only about what unhealthy relationships are, but also about how you shouldn't base any relationship off the idea of someone. The idea of a wealthy doctor is probably not the reality of marrying a wealthy doctor. The idea of a traveling musician is not the reality of dating a traveling musician. The idea of a bad boy is not the reality of being with one. I also learned that you can't suffer through a bad relationship because you want to help or fix your partner. Your partner is responsible for fixing themselves and coming to a relationship as the best version of themselves. It was never my responsibility as an 18-year-old to get Eddie to sober up and to clean his life up, or to go to school for something and become more respectable. I was trying to turn this bad boy into a version of all those good guys from the normal families who I once thought weren't interesting enough to date. Talk about a wake-up call. And to be honest, it kind of wasn't even fair to Eddie. Like, say what you will about his abusive behavior, but he showed me all his cards on that first date. I was the one who chose to ignore them. Conclusion, fantasy versus reality. So in season 1 of The OC, if you remember that show, the character Ryan was a petty criminal with a turbulent upbringing and a tendency to get into fights. By the end of the series, he was a successful architect with a normal relationship and life. Okay, so the OC actually ended up getting pretty ridiculous in the last season for like multiple reasons. But in most of the examples that I can draw from for the bad boy turned love interest trope, the bad boy finds some kind of path to redemption. And of course, this is possible in real life. Anything is possible, but I would say that it is the exception. It is very, very hard for people to change after a lifetime of knowing only one way to exist, especially without any professional help. Substance abuse is complex and scary and just devastating to families because of how hard it is for addicts to get clean. Lastly, growing up with abusive parents and instability in the home creates a cycle that society understands is very difficult to escape from. Reality and fantasy are two different words for a reason. Our idea of something, our fantasy, and those told through TV and movies are just not aligned with the reality of life. Whether it's because real life is more mundane or because real life is actually more complicated. To wrap, I don't really have any generic advice, but I hope that my story shows that the reality of dating someone very different from you with a troubled past and a substance problem is, well, it's not all it's cracked up to be. But all of that was hidden beneath this veneer of the elusive bad boy status. And it took me a long time to break down that cliche for what it really was. Don't fall for cliches. Fall for people, good people who make your life better, not harder. I guess that would be my generic advice. Thank you for sticking around and watching my video and listening to my story. Obviously, the story deals with themes of toxic relationships and abuse. So if you or anyone you know is dealing with that, I have listed some resources in the description below, but just know that you are not alone. And there are a lot of people out there who want to help you and are here for you. Thanks again. Bye.